The millionaire never touched his black wife until one night revealed an explosive secret. Edward Johnson was supposed to be the man who had it all. A millionaire with skyscraper views and a smile that dazzled the press. Yet behind the shimmering glass walls of their penthouse in New York City, rumors swirled like storm clouds. Everyone whispered, why had Edward, the golden boy of finance, refused to touch his wife, Isabella Santos, for months? The black entrepreneur, known for breaking barriers, fighting prejudice, and building her empire? The question burned hotter than the city lights below. No one saw what really went on inside that sleek, modern fortress. A marriage built on convenience, yes, but filled with silent battles and untold pain. Isabella, fierce and driven, held her head high in public. Yet at home, the tension thickened like fog. She was sharp, courageous, but haunted by secrets she buried deep. Edward, wired and restless, was caught between trying to protect himself from his own demons and the public's relentless gaze. Then came that thunderous night. Rain hammered against the windows, and the city seemed to shudder under the storm. The power flickered. Shadows stretched long and wild across the marble floor. Isabella's voice cracked through the silence, sharp and trembling. Words she'd never dared say out loud. Edward's jaw clenched. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest. The years of silence, the fear, the harsh walls around their bruised hearts began to crumble. "You think I don't see you?" she spat. "Your coldness, your lies, the way you hide from me like I'm some kind of punishment. What are you so afraid of?" Her fists shook, fists that built businesses and broke glass ceilings. The same fists, now trembling with fury and pain. Edward's lips quivered. He swallowed hard. The mansion, the wealth, the image, it all felt suddenly brittle, like it could shatter in his hands. "I'm scared. I'm scared of losing you, Isabella, of what this all means, of who we really are." For the first time, their walls cracked wide open. A hush fell. Neither moved. Then, a breath, a glance, and suddenly, shockingly, Edward reached out. His fingers brushed her cheek. Their eyes locked, tight and raw. Then, impossible in its sweetness, a kiss. Not the shallow, polite, kind, but a question, a confession, a spark lighting the darkness between them. It was a beginning, and the start of a storm they never expected. 6 months later, Edward planned a picnic on the rooftop garden, a rare moment under the sun, away from skyscrapers and rumors. He wanted to shift their strange dance into something real, to pull Isabella closer than ever before. But as they unpacked the basket, his phone vibrated violently. The message flashed. "You need to know the truth about her before it's too late." From Isabella's estranged sister. His fingers trembled. His chest tightened. Who was the woman he was falling for? What secrets were still locked away in shadows? The luxury penthouse suddenly felt like a cage. Edward's mind raced. The city buzzed below, unaware of the storm about to break. Would the truth destroy what they barely started to build? Or could this fragile hope survive every secret and every lie? Edward stared at the screen, heart pounding, the message burning in his mind. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. A lot of subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at that red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any of the exclusive content coming your way. And while you're here, hit that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Edward stared at the message, heart racing, dread creeping in like a shadow. What truth? What could be so bad? His mind raced as he scanned the rooftop garden. The sun beamed down, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in his chest. He swallowed hard, trying to push the growing knot of anxiety away. Isabella was reaching for the picnic basket, totally unaware of the fog rolling in on Edward's thoughts. Her laughter rang out like music, but he couldn't join in. The weight of the message felt like stone in his pocket. What could her sister possibly want? He felt like a dam ready to burst. "Edward, come here!" Her voice pulled him back, snapping him to the moment. He turned, forcing a smile, but it barely touched his eyes. She set down a jar of homemade lemonade, the sun catching the glass and throwing sparkles everywhere. It was beautiful, and yet he felt a chill. As they settled onto the blanket, they talked about dreams and futures, but his mind drifted back to the message. It felt like a ticking clock, echoing loudly with every heartbeat. With every laugh Isabella shared, he felt guilt clamp down tighter, a thief in the night, ready to steal this rare moment. Suddenly, his phone buzzed again, ripping the fragile piece apart. Another message flashed. "You need to see the truth for yourself. Meet me at the cafe on 5th in 1 hour. Bring her." His stomach dropped. "What the hell?" he shamelessly blurted out. Isabella's brow furrowed, catching the tension coiling around him. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. It's just—" He struggled for words. The truth clawed at him. Her sister's words echoed silently in his ears, tangled with fears about their relationship. "We need to talk," he finally said, sensing the clouds close in over the sun. "Now? Edward, we're having a perfect day." She was right. She deserved more than his fixation on shadows. "I know, there's something I need to figure out." He couldn't meet her eyes. "It might concern you." She stiffened, lips pressing together, a slight tremor running through her hands. "What is it?" I'll explain later, but promise me you'll come with me. Just trust me." Her expression gave nothing away. "Fine, but I don't like this." "Neither do I." The tension crackled between them, a storm no longer outside, but within. He glanced at his phone one last time. The countdown was on, but before they could move, a loud crash echoed across the rooftop, cutting through the moment. Edward spun around. Below, an enormous glass shard fell from a nearby building, crashing into the street, scattering shards like confetti. Instinctively, he grabbed for Isabella, pulling her closer to shield her. "Are you okay?" he asked, panic lacing his voice. "What was that?" she gasped, fear flickering in her eyes. But the real shock came when he turned back to face her. A look of recognition washed over Isabella, an expression he'd never seen before. Her face paled, eyes wide as she stared past him. "Edward, that building, I know it." "What do you mean?" His heart raced again. Before she could answer, her phone rang, and Isabella's eyes changed, a spark igniting that seemed to shatter the moment. She answered in a hushed tone, voice trembling. "I know, I'll come, but it's too risky." Edward felt the ground drop beneath him. Everything shifted. The trust they had barely begun to build began to feel fragile, like a single thread stretching past its limit. Isabella, who was that? The air hung heavy with unsaid words. Her silence stretched, heavy and cold. Then, in the blink of an eye, she hung up, the moment shifting from shock to something darker. Edward, there's something I haven't told you. In an instant, the world around them faded. What had seemed like a clear path twisted into shadows, their fragile bond teetering on the edge. Tell me, he urged, voice barely above a whisper, heart pounding, his future slipping away. And just like that, the sun dipped behind heavy clouds, hiding the light. Tell me, Edward urged, his voice barely a whisper, heart pounding, his future slipping away. Isabella took a shaky breath, her eyes darting. Edward, there's something I haven't told you. The heaviness between them seemed to thicken like fog. It was as if time stood still, the city noise fading to a distant hum. I need you to promise me you'll listen without judgment, she said, her hands trembling slightly. Anything, he replied, a wave of dread crashing over him. He desperately wanted to shield her from whatever pain she felt, yet he sensed it was too late for that. Before I met you, I was... She hesitated, the words caught in her throat. I was involved in something dangerous. What do you mean? Edward's heart raced. What kind of danger? But instead of answering, she looked over his shoulder, face pale, mouth opening in shock. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the edge of the rooftop garden. Isabella, you shouldn't be here. It was her sister, a shadow from the past. Anna? Isabella's voice was a mix of disbelief and dread. Edward felt the air shift, tension crackling like a live wire. What's happening? Why is she here? He demanded, confusion rising. Edward, you need to leave, Anna shouted, her urgency slicing through the air. It's not safe. They're coming for you. They? Who's coming? Isabella's eyes widened, spiraling into panic. They know about us, Isabella. About everything. The gravity in Anna's voice shook Edward to his core. The sky darkened as ominous clouds rolled in, mirroring the chaos closing in. You need to trust me, Anna continued, glancing nervously at the street below. You think you know the truth? It's so much bigger than that. Edward's heart pounded louder than the rain that began to pour. Enough! What are you talking about? He felt a lump in his throat, tears of frustration and fear threatening to spill. Anna took a step closer. It's not just about you, Edward. It's about her past. Isabella's ties to the very people who could destroy everything. What ties? Edward stood rigid, the truth feeling more like an avalanche than a revelation. Those businesses she built, they weren't just about breaking barriers. They're a front. Stop, Isabella shouted, sharpness in her voice silencing Anna. Enough. But you can't, Anna insisted. I said stop. Isabella's voice cracked with a power that echoed off the walls. You don't get to control my narrative. Not anymore. The silence that followed was deafening. Edward looked from one woman to the other, trapped in a storm of revelations and emotions. Isabella, please, I need to understand, he said, breaking through the tension. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the street below. jarring them from their terrifying exchange. A crowd began to gather, gasping and pointing. Edward turned to see people backing away, shouts rising in terrified urgency. And then, out of the chaos, a voice rang clear. "Isabella Santos, we know you're up there." Edward's blood ran cold. Panic surged through him as he grabbed Isabella's hand, feeling her pulse race. "Who are they?" he asked, voice strained. Isabella's eyes were wide, spinning in a cocktail of fear and realization. "They're after me. They've been watching, waiting." The reality hit him like a punch to the gut. Everything suddenly felt fragile, like a bubble waiting to burst. Their love, their trust, it teetered on the brink. "Edward, we need to go," she said, urgency clawing at her tone. But their path was blocked. Dark figures began to emerge, shadows shifting in the dim light. Edward's heart raced. There was nowhere to run, no escape from the truth unraveling before him. In that moment, Edward understood that the life he thought he knew was built on secrets that could shatter everything. And as Isabella gripped his hand tighter, a single question burned in his mind. Would he be strong enough to face whatever was about to unfold? Edward tightened his grip on Isabella's hand, feeling her pulse race beneath his fingers. Anna stood there, a tight coil of desperation, her eyes darting to the shadows creeping closer. The crowd below was growing restless, whispers rising like waves. "Isabella, we need to go, now," he urged, his heart pounding in his chest. But before she could respond, a massive figure stepped out from the shadows, a man dressed in a sharp black suit. He stood tall, his presence commanding. Edward's instinct kicked in. This wasn't just some random threat. This was someone with intention. "Isabella," the man cocked his head, smirking as if he held all the cards. "I've been looking for you." A chill swept through Edward. He could feel the air charge with tension. "Who are you?" he demanded, stepping protectively in front of Isabella. "Just a friend," the man smiled, but there was something icy in his eyes. "A friend of your husband-to-be and his family." The words landed like a stone. "What do you mean?" Edward's voice barely rose above a whisper, dread forming a knot in his gut. But Isabella's face had drained of all color. She took a step back, almost stumbling. You know him?" Edward's gaze shifted between Isabella and the stranger. "What the hell is going on?" he pressed. The man chuckled, the sound low and sinister. "Your little game is up, Isabella. It's time to come home." "Home?" Edward echoed, confusion mingling with anger. "What are you talking about?" With a flick of his wrist, the man produced an envelope from inside his coat, tossing it toward them. It landed at their feet. A white, unassuming piece of paper. "You'll find everything you need to know in there, and more." Isabella moved mechanically, bending down to pick it up. The moment her fingers touched the envelope, something shifted. A flicker of recognition sparked in her eyes. "Isabella, don't," Edward warned, sensing that opening this envelope might expose secrets he wasn't ready to face. But it was too late. She tore it open, eyes scanning the document inside. Gasps erupted from the crowd below. Edward felt the weight of hundreds of eyes, heavy with judgment. "What is it?" He squeezed her hand tighter, worried she would shatter beneath the revelation. This This isn't possible. Isabella's voice trembled, a mix of fear and disbelief. The stranger stepped closer, eyes gleaming with anticipation. Oh, it's very real. Family ties you never knew about, a legacy you were meant to uphold, but you chose to run. The truth hit like a lightning bolt, illuminating the darkness. Isabella's back straightened as shock morphed into anger. No, I made my own way. You can't control me. You think you've escaped? He taunted softly. They will always find you. You will never be free. Edward interjected fiercely. What's really going on? There was a flash of something. Fear, sorrow, in Isabella's eyes. Words hovered on the tip of her tongue, but she held back, biting her lip. A sudden crash erupted from the street below, followed by screams. A crowd surged back, eyes wide with panic. A black SUV had sped onto the scene, windows tinted dark, engines roaring like thunder. "They're here!" Anna shrieked, her face paling. "Isabella, we need to go, now!" The stranger smiled, unsettlingly calm. "Wishful thinking. It's too late for that." In a heartbeat, everything shifted. The face of the man in the suit changed, his eyes narrowing, jaw tightening. He raised his hand, summoning the chaos. Then a figure emerged from the SUV, a woman, her face shrouded in shadow. "You've made this far too easy, Isabella. Time to come home." Edward's heart dropped. He turned to Isabella. "What's happening? Who are they?" But before they could exchange another word, voices rose up around them, the crowd gasping collectively, murmurs of disbelief thickening the air. The world felt as if it was crumbling around them. With a single glance at the mystery woman, Edward understood. Nothing was as it seemed. The woman smiled, one that held years of secrets, and in that moment, he realized, with gut-wrenching clarity, their bond, fragile as glass, was about to shatter. Would they survive this storm? Or was everything they built already washed away? The world felt as if it was crumbling around them. With a single glance at the mystery woman, Edward understood. Nothing was as it seemed. The woman smiled, one that held years of secrets, and in that moment, he realized with gut-wrenching clarity their bond, fragile as glass, was about to shatter. "Isabella, please, we need to go," he urged, but the man in the suit held his ground, unyielding and calm, as if he thrived on their fear. Before Isabella could respond, the crowd below turned chaotic. Edward felt their eyes on him, judgment slamming into his gut. The black SUV's engine roared, and then a deafening explosion shattered the air. "Get down!" Edward shouted, instinctively pulling Isabella close. Smoke and debris flew into the air as the crowd screamed, panicking and scattering. Through the cloud, Edward caught a glimpse of the mystery woman. She remained untouched, standing there with that eerie smile. Isabella stared, her face a mask of shock. "What just happened?" "I don't know, but we need to—" Suddenly, the figure in the suit pulled a small device from his pocket, holding it up like a prize. "Welcome to your reality, Edward. This," he waved the device, "will change everything." "Change what?" Bella's voice wavered, cuts of confusion and fear slicing through her words. The man pressed a button, and a holographic image beamed into the air, a distorted video of Isabella. Only it wasn't just any video. It showed moments from her life, ones that were never meant to be shared. Dark scenes played out. Clandestine meetings held in dark, hardly lit warehouses. Whispered exchanges that reeked of danger. Isabella, what is this? Edward's heart raced, but she stood frozen, eyes wide, taking in each damning second. I never wanted you to see this, she whispered, trembling. I didn't want any of this to touch you. Touch me, Edward spat, emotions boiling over. You think this doesn't touch me? You've kept me in the dark, Bella. Why? It's not what you think, Edward. It was for your protection. I wanted to shield you. From what? He yelled, the question echoing off the walls, desperate for answers. The crowd began to murmur, fragments of shock rippling through them. She's a criminal. How could she? They're in cahoots. The whispers grew louder, feeding off the chaos. Isabella squeezed Edward's hand, her grip tightening, panic etched on her face. You have to trust me. There's more. The family I ran from, they're not just any family. They're dangerous. I thought I left them behind. The man's eyes sparkled with glee as he stepped closer. And they know exactly where to find you. This isn't over, Isabella. You can't outrun your blood. Those last words hit like a truck, reverberating between them. Edward reeled. What kind of legacy had she hidden away? How deep did the roots go? Before he could process it all, a commotion erupted from the SUV, and several armed men burst onto the scene. We're here for the asset, one shouted, scanning the rooftop, eyes wild with purpose. The world spun faster. Edward! Isabella cried out, fear pouring from her. We need to go. We can't stay here. And as the figure in the suit laughed, darkness draped over the rooftop, blocking the sun. Edward's vision darkened, and the once shining hope they had fought for flickered like a dying ember. But in that moment, something clicked deep within him. I won't leave you, he shouted against the rising chaos. We face this together. With adrenaline surging through his veins, Edward pulled Isabella to him. The weight of their secrets hung heavy, but he could feel a fire igniting between them. Whatever your past may hold, he declared, we fight against it, together. But just as hope began to bloom, the SUV exploded, the blast sending shockwaves through the air, lifting them off their feet. The world dissipated into a swirl of flames, smoke, and screams. Edward's heart raced as he clutched Isabella, dragging her toward the edge, toward the one narrow escape route. But before they could leap, the mystery woman stepped forward, unscathed in the chaos, eyes wild with madness. Your choice was always a lie, Edward. You're a part of this whether you like it or not. In stunned silence, Edward's breath caught. Everything he thought was real, every connection he built with Isabella, teetered on the edge of oblivion. What truth had he stumbled into? And who was he really fighting for? The world felt as if it was crumbling around them. With a single glance at the mystery woman, Edward understood. Nothing was as it seemed. The woman smiled, one that held years of secrets. And in that moment, he realized with gut-wrenching clarity, their bond, fragile as glass, was about to shatter. Isabella, please, we need to go, he urged. But the man in the suit held his ground, unyielding and calm, as if he thrived on their fear. Before Isabella could respond, the crowd below turned chaotic. Edward felt their eyes on him, judgment slamming into his gut. The black SUV's engine roared, and then a deafening explosion shattered the air. "Get down!" Edward shouted, instinctively pulling Isabella close. Smoke and debris flew into the air as the crowd screamed, panicking and scattering. Through the cloud, Edward caught a glimpse of the mystery woman. She remained untouched, standing there with that eerie smile. Isabella stared, her face a mask of shock. "What just happened?" "I don't know, but we need to—" Suddenly, the figure in the suit pulled a small device from his pocket, holding it up like a prize. "Welcome to your reality, Edward. This," he waved the device, "will change everything." Change. What? Bella's voice wavered, cuts of confusion and fear slicing through her words. The man pressed a button, and a holographic image beamed into the air. A distorted video of Isabella, only it wasn't just any video. It showed moments from her life, ones that were never meant to be shared. Dark scenes played out. Clandestine meetings, held in dark, hardly lit warehouses. Whispered exchanges that reeked of danger. Isabella? What is this? Edward's heart raced, but she stood frozen, eyes wide, taking in each damning second. I never wanted you to see this," she whispered, trembling. "Touch me?" Edward spat, emotions boiling over. "You think this doesn't touch me? You've kept me in the dark, Bella. Why?" "It's not what you think, Edward. It was for your protection. I wanted to shield you." "From what?" he yelled, the question echoing off the walls, desperate for answers. The crowd began to murmur, fragments of shock rippling through them. "She's a criminal! How could she? They're in cahoots!" The whispers grew louder, feeding off the chaos. Isabella squeezed Edward's hand, her grip tightening, panic etched on her face. "You have to trust me. There's more. The family I ran from, they're not just any family. They're dangerous. I thought I left them behind." The man's eyes sparkled with glee as he stepped closer. "And they know exactly where to find you. This isn't over, Isabella. You can't outrun your blood." Those last words hit like a truck, reverberating between them. Edward reeled. What kind of legacy had she hidden away? How deep did the roots go? Before he could process it all, a commotion erupted from the SUV, and several armed men burst onto the scene. "We're here for the asset!" one shouted, scanning the rooftop, eyes wild with purpose. The world spun faster. "Edward!" Isabella cried out, fear pouring from her. "We need to go! We can't stay here!" And as the figure in the suit laughed, darkness draped over the rooftop, blocking the sun. Edward's vision darkened. And the once shining hope they had fought for flickered like a dying ember. But in that moment, something clicked deep within him. "I won't leave you," he shouted against the rising chaos. "We face this together," with adrenaline surging through his veins. Edward pulled Isabella to him. The weight of their secrets hung heavy, but he could feel a fire igniting between them. "Whatever your past may hold," he declared, "we fight against it, together." But just as hope began to bloom, the SUV exploded, the blast sending shockwaves through the air, lifting them off their feet. The world dissipated into a swirl of flames, smoke, and screams. Edward's heart raced as he clutched Isabella, dragging her toward the edge, toward the one narrow escape route. But before they could leap, the mystery woman stepped forward, unscathed in the chaos, eyes wild with madness. "Your choice was always a lie, Edward. You're a part of this, whether you like it or not." In stunned silence, Edward's breath caught. Everything he thought was real, every connection he built with Isabella, teetered on the edge of oblivion. Then, just as they were about to jump, Isabella turned toward the woman, and a look of recognition washed over her face. "No, it can't be," she gasped. The woman stepped closer, the chaos around them fading into a dull roar. "Isabella, you need to understand. I'm not just anyone. I'm your sister." A shocking gasp spread through the air, cutting like a knife. Edward felt the world tilt on its axis, everything they knew suddenly disintegrating into nothing. "No, that can't be true." Isabella's eyes watered, confusion morphing to betrayal. "It's true," the woman pressed, urgency etched in her features. "You were taken from our family. But I've been watching over you. They've been waiting for you to come back home." Edward stared between the two women, realization slamming into him like a freight train. The mystery was deeper than he could ever imagine. Their love, their fight, it was built on a foundation of shadows. "If you come with me, I can protect you," the woman continued, voice steady yet laced with desperation. "But you need to trust me. Trust your blood." Isabella shook her head, tears spilling over. "You lied to me. All this time, you were near? You let me believe I was alone?" The air thickened, a swirling vortex of emotions and choices. Edward felt himself slipping, torn between loyalty, love, and the monumental truth spiraling their lives into disarray. "Isabella, we can't just stay here, we have to." But before he could finish, the ground shook again, echoing the devastation around them. And just like that, in an instant, everything he had clung to began to dissolve. The weight of decisions loomed like a storm cloud, suffocating any sense of clarity. As Isabella faced her past, the world fell away, leaving them suspended in the chaos of unknown repercussions. Would they emerge stronger, or was this the moment they would finally be torn apart forever? Isabella stared at the woman, her sister, the truth crashing down like a wave. "You're lying," she gasped. "You can't be." But the moment hung heavy with the weight of reality. Edward's head spun as he desperately sought clarity. Danger lurked around them, but the revelation twisted deeper than any threat outside. "Isabella, you need to come with me. I can protect you," her sister urged, eyes darting to the chaos gathering below. "They're coming." But Isabella's expression hardened. "You left me. You didn't protect me then. Why would I trust you now?" "Because it's not just about trust. It's about survival. You have to understand." The mystery woman's voice trembled slightly, a crack in her facade, as if she bore guilt from the shadows of their shared past. Before anyone could breathe, the explosion felt like an earthquake rumbling beneath their feet. The sound thundered, fiery debris lifting into the sky, and suddenly they were engulfed in chaos. The crowd screamed, scattering. People pushed past each other, desperate for an escape from the madness. "Isabella, we can't stay here," Edward shouted, pulling her towards the edge of the rooftop. The smoke curled around them, and panic turned to confusion. He felt helpless, caught between fear for her safety and growing concern over her sister's true intent. "Will you even know what you're asking her to do?" Edward snapped at the woman. "She doesn't owe you anything." But the woman just shook her head, steely resolve behind her eyes. "You don't understand. The family that wants her back, they know how to use her. They've been waiting to strike at the heart of our past." Edward felt the panic claw at his chest. We need to go, now. At that moment, a piercing noise sliced through the air. A police siren, loud and insistent, erupted from below. The crowd started to panic even more, shouting warnings, whispers of betrayal, echoing. And then he saw it, behind the black SUV that had just exploded. Another vehicle pulled up, sleek, black, and ominous. From it stepped a figure, tall, menacing, confident. The very air around them shifted. Edward's heart hammered against his ribcage. "Stay back!" he yelled, stepping between Isabella and the threat. The man from the car approached slowly, a grin spreading across his face. "Isabella Santos," he called out, voice deep and smooth, a lethal melody. "You don't remember me, but I remember you." Isabella turned, face pale. Who are you?" His grin widened, revealing a familiar down Edward's spine. "Your father sent me. He's ready to bring you back into the fold, sweetheart." Edward's world tilted again. Her father? What kind of family was she even tied to? This was more than anyone had bargained for. "Isabella, no!" Edward tried to pull her back, but she stood frozen, caught by the trap of her own past. "Don't you want to know why you exist?" The man continued, stepping closer. "What you were truly meant for?" The crowd gasped collectively, drawn by the unfolding drama. Edward felt their judgment, their expectations clinging like shadows, crushing. Isabella's eyes widened, horrified yet intrigued. "Stop! You don't know what you're doing." "Actually, I do." The man leaned closer, his voice low and chilling. "I've come to collect what's rightfully mine." In that instant, everything shifted. A flash of recognition sparked in Isabella's eyes. It can't be." Edward's stomach churned. What more could this twisted family possess? But then, crack! A deafening sound echoed as a gunshot tore through the air. Time froze for a heartbeat. Edward turned as chaos erupted again. A figure lay sprawled, chaos spilling across the rooftop as people screamed. And just like that, the woman who claimed to be Isabella's sister dropped to the ground, clutching her side, shock morphing to agony. "Anna!" Isabella screamed, rushing to her sister's side. Edward stood paralyzed, brain whirling. Who could possibly be trusted now? The very foundation of their connection shifted beneath him. "Isabella, get back!" Edward shouted, heart racing. But she didn't listen, torn between family and the life she had built. The man smirked, watching, reveling in their fractured reality. "Welcome to the truth, Isabella. Your past is a dark place, and you don't escape it easily." With a deafening crack of thunder, the rain began pouring, washing away the remnants of the chaos, but leaving only uncertainty behind. What would they do now? Would the secrets that bound them bring devastation or liberation? The storm had only just begun. Isabella stared at her sister, the shock palpable in the air. "You're lying," she gasped. "You can't be." But the truth weighed heavy, pressing down on her. Edward's mind raced as anger and fear intertwined. The chaos around them faded, but the reality of this family secret roared back to life. "Isabella, you need to come with me. I can protect you," her sister insisted, glancing at the smoke billowing from the wreckage. "They're coming!" "No!" Isabella yelled. You left me for dead." Her voice trembled with pain and betrayal. The words cut deep. Edward felt the heat of anger surge through him. The man in the suit smiled, eyes gleaming with confidence. "You have no idea what you're walking into, Isabella," he said. Leaning closer, "It's not just about you anymore." The urgency in the air cracked like thunder. Edward grasped Isabella's shoulders. "You don't have to do this. We'll figure it out." But just as the hope flickered between them, chaos erupted again. Another round of gunfire punctured the tense atmosphere, sending a shockwave through the crowd. People screamed, ducking for cover, but all eyes remained glued to the rooftop. "What the hell?" Edward shouted, instinct taking over. He pulled Isabella toward the nearest escape route, but her sister held on, gripping her wrist. "Wait! We need to stay together! They don't want just you!" Anna shouted over the din. And then a figure emerged from the swollen shadows, a woman clad in black, determined and fierce. "Isabella," she beckoned, voice sharp as glass. "I'm here to end this." "Who are you?" Edward yelled, stepping forward, heart pounding in his throat. The woman didn't flinch, gaze locked on Isabella with an intensity that cut through the fear. "Your mother sent me to keep you safe. They know you're here," she exclaimed, breathless urgency tinged with authority. The crowd fell silent. A heavy stillness wrapped the rooftop, as if the world held its breath. "Mom?" Isabella whispered, disbelief washing over her. The woman nodded, stepping closer. "It's time to come home, Isabella. We can't run anymore." The revelation pulled Isabella taut, conflict flickering behind her eyes. "I can't trust you. I can't trust any of you." "Then you'll die," the woman shot back, her voice slicing through the turmoil. "We've been on the run for too long." Tension crackled, each heartbeat loud in their ears. The man in the suit laughed, dark and menacing. "You think you can protect her? You're all just pieces on a board." And, right then, gasping screams erupted from the street below. Edward's gaze shifted in horror as he saw a new group of armed men pushing through the crowd, eyes harsh and focused, weapons drawn. "Get the asset," one shouted, and the city seemed to hold its breath as they barreled toward the rooftop, relentless as a storm. "Isabella, we need to move. Now!" Edward yelled, pulling her back, shielding her from sight. She shook her head, tears glistening in her eyes. "I can't leave." At that moment, something unexpected happened. A loud rumble echoed as the rooftop beneath them shook. The ground cracked, and a section of the marble shattered, sending rubble cascading down toward the street. "Get out of the way!" a voice roared from behind. Instinct kicked in. Fear clawed at Edward's chest as he grabbed Isabella tightly. He swung around, prepared to leap, but before they could move, the full force of chaos erupted. The ground gave way. Edward barely had time to register what was happening when the entire rooftop began to tilt. They were thrown to the ground, limbs tangled as dust and debris rained down. And in the swirling chaos, a deafening voice broke through. "This was never about your safety, Isabella." With that, the world spun, and everything erupted into darkness. The last thing Edward felt was Isabella's hand slipping from his grasp, a final moment of desperation as he tried to hold on to her before everything faded away. And then, silence. No chaos, no screaming, just an echo of his heart pounding in his ears. What had just happened? Where were they? And more terrifyingly, where was Isabella? As the dust settled, Edward blinked in confusion. Darkness swirled around him, and the echoes of chaos faded away. For a brief moment, everything was silent. He struggled to gather his thoughts. Where was Isabella? Panic gnawed at his stomach. Isabella? His voice rang out, hoarse and desperate. The silence answered back. He slowly rose to his feet, each movement heavy with dread. He scanned the void. Parts of the rooftop lay in ruins. Shadows danced in the corners of his mind, and his heart raced with the fear of having lost her. Edward? Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, but it shattered through the haze, pulling him back into reality. He spun around. Isabella, where are you? I'm here, she called, and suddenly her figure emerged from the lingering dust. Relief flooded him momentarily, but then he saw the wild look in her eyes. She was trembling, but it wasn't just fear. Something else lurked beneath the surface. Are you all right? He asked, rushing to her side. What happened? I thought I lost you. She nodded, but didn't speak. Instead, she held out her trembling hands. In them lay a small, shimmering object, a silver locket. Edward's heart stuttered. He recognized it. It was? She breathlessly stammered. It was in the wreckage. I've never seen it before. He took the locket, but as he opened it, his breath caught. Inside was a picture. A young girl with dark curls and bright eyes, smiling back at him. Who is this? He asked, confusion mixing with disbelief. Isabella swallowed hard, her color draining. That's me, but... She hesitated, a flicker of recognition dawning in her expression. I thought my mother didn't keep anything from my childhood. Isabella, he murmured, suddenly realizing the implications. But before he could utter another word, a loud clatter echoed through the air. The figure in the black suit emerged again from the shadows, but this time he was not alone. Two hulking men flanked him, their expressions cold as steel. Look what you found, the man sneered, eyes glinting with malice. Just a little piece of truth to shatter your world completely. Isabella stood frozen, the locket still clutched in her hand. What do you mean? Who are you? The man stepped closer. Your family wanted to keep the truth hidden, my dear. You're not who you think you are. You were never meant to escape. Edward's heart raced, the weight of dread pressing against his chest. What are you talking about? Isabella, he hesitated, unsure whether to hope or withhold his feelings. Did she really need to hear it? But as he looked into her eyes, the truth resonated. What's this all about? Family, Edward, she whispered, still staring down at the locket, as if it held all the answers. They wanted you. They still want you. You're part of something bigger, something dangerous. The sudden realization slammed into him like a freight train. Wait, what do you mean, dangerous? Before her eyes, the world shifted again. The mystery woman stepped up with confidence, smirking. You've all been running without realizing the part you play. Isabella, you're not just a pawn. You're the queen. And guess what? You hold the key to everything. A chilling wave of understanding coursed through Edward. This can't be. You're lying. No, my dear. The woman's smile deepened, as if she relished the unfolding drama. It's time for you to embrace your true self. Suddenly the ground shook again. This time it was not the building, but Edward's reality teetering on the edge. He watched as the locket slipped from Isabella's fingers, hitting the floor and cracking open. A rush of paper fluttered out, carrying with it a series of photographs and documents. But it was the last image that caught everyone's eyes. It was a wanted poster. Isabella's face stared back, But alongside it was another familiar face, Edward's. No, he breathed, the realization intertwining with dread. This can't be. Family ties run deeper than blood. The man in the suit chuckled darkly. All the pieces of their shared life began to fracture, leaving them teetering on the brink of an abyss both profound and unfathomable. Edward's heart raced as he locked eyes with Isabella. Would they face this new reality together, or would this revelation tear them apart forever? The ground felt like it was crumbling beneath them, and one thing was clear. They were trapped at the intersection of destiny and chaos. The dust settled slowly, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Edward could barely process what he had just seen. The wanted poster lay crumpled on the floor, the truth twisting in his gut like a knife. This was more than just danger. It was betrayal, and the air hummed with it. "Isabella, listen to me," he pleaded, stepping closer to her. Panic gripped him as he locked onto her wide eyes, searching for understanding. "This isn't just about them. This is about us, together." But she hesitated, swallowing hard as the weight of her family's legacy pressed down like a stone. "I don't want this. I thought I—" "Escape?" The man in the suit laughed, his voice laced with disdain. "You never really thought you could run from your blood, did you?" The crowd stared, a sea of shocked faces watching the scene unfold. The sudden tension sent ripples through the thrumming atmosphere. Edward felt it too. The collective judgment, the fear radiating from Isabella. "Do you trust me?" he asked, gripping her arms gently. "We can figure this out. We can take control of our future." She looked torn, fear dancing in her eyes. But then something shifted. He saw a flicker of determination spark within her. "You're right," she breathed. "I won't let them dictate my life any longer." Before the words had fully left her lips, chaos erupted anew. The armed men charged forward, voices impossible to ignore. "Get her!" Edward pulled Isabella closer, the urgency igniting something fierce inside him. "Run!" he shouted, shoving through the crowd. They dodged fragments of debris, hearts pounding in unison, a beat of defiance. "Edward, what if we get caught?" Isabella gasped, clinging to him as they dashed toward the stairway. "Then we fight." His voice was steady despite the pounding dread. And just like that, the fight ignited in him, stronger than the fear swirling around them. They burst through the rooftop door and descended the stairs. Their feet hit the ground level, the outside world buzzing with confusion and fright, valiantly attempting to reclaim normalcy. "We need a car," he puffed, scanning the street. In the distance, sirens wailed. Police swarmed the scene, faces grim, trying to piece together the chaos. But in that moment, nothing mattered more than getting away. "There!" Edward pointed to a parked vehicle ahead. He glanced back, but the shadows of their pursuers loomed large. "Get in!" He leaped toward the driver's seat, his heart racing as he flung open the door. "Edward, wait!" Isabella panic whispered. "What if—" "There's no time for what-ifs," he snapped, desperate frustration spilling over. But as she climbed in beside him, their eyes locked, deep understanding passing through the tension. This was it. No turning back. He started the engine, the roar shaking the remnants of chaos lurking behind them. "Hold on!" Just as he shifted into gear, a figure appeared in the rearview mirror, a flash of dark hair, piercing eyes. The woman. "Don't you dare drive away!" she shrieked, lunging forward. Edward pressed the accelerator, and the tires screeched as they tore down the street, leaving the mess behind. A surge of adrenaline pumped through him. He was free. They were free. "We did it!" Isabella laughed, a breathless sound that felt like a burst of light in the shadows. But in the back of his mind, questions swirled like the wind. Who was truly after them? The depth of Isabella's identity still hung heavy between them, unspoken but undeniable. "What now?" she asked, eyes wide with a mix of excitement and fear. "I don't know," he admitted, the uncertainty creeping in. "But together, we're strong enough to face whatever comes. We can build our own future." Isabella reached for his hand, squeezing it tightly, the united front against the darkness that threatened to pull them apart. And as they sped away from the wreckage of their shared past, an idea sprouted, a glimmer of hope that with every ounce of strength, they could reclaim the life that had been stolen from them. Somewhere behind, chaos reigned, but ahead lay a world of possibilities, the unknown stretching out like an open road. Edward shot her a determined smile. "Let's take a road we've never traveled." Her smile shone brighter in response, illuminating all the uncertainties that lay ahead. But that question still lingered. Was their past truly behind them? Or was it only the beginning of something bigger than either of them could imagine? And as they pulled away into the sunset, one last thought echoed in the back of their minds. There were more pieces to this puzzle yet to be revealed. You need to subscribe immediately to this channel so you don't miss out on the upcoming exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support by smashing the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling finale. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel with these actions.